Shelley and I grew up as close as sisters in a middle-class neighborhood where the streets were gritty, but the commercial district sparkled with cafes and ice cream shops. Our houses were a short walk apart, and we spent our days weaving in and out of each other's lives. Our family wasn't wealthy, but we had enough to get by, enough to feel the sting of comparison when it came to material things. I was never a stellar student in high school, too lazy to care about grades when I knew I'd skip university for work. In Argentina, public universities are free and don't demand a perfect GPA, so I coasted, passing just enough to avoid failing. Shelley, though, was a different story. She was a genius, obsessed with her flawless grades, her report cards a shrine to her superiority. Her parents, my aunt and uncle, whom I'll call the Cerrete, a fitting Argentine insult for a man like him, treated Shelley like a goddess. Her academic prowess was their pride, their weapon to wield against the rest of us. They'd mock my mediocre grades, even when I was a kid, tossing barbs that I'd end up as Shelley's maid or a failure scrubbing floors. When I was 7, they said it to my face, their words cutting deep into my childish heart. As a teenager, I learned to shrug it off, but the damage lingered. Their obsession with Shelley wasn't about nurturing her, it was about elevating her to tear others down, especially me and my mom, whom they accused of poor upbringing. Shelley's father, the Cerrete, treated my aunt like a servant, demanding she cater to his every whim. Shelley inherited that entitlement, her personality a toxic blend of her father's cynicism and her mother's subservience. She was lazy, selfish, and ungrateful, traits her father not only tolerated but encouraged. If my aunt tried to discipline Shelley, say, by asking her to take out the trash or clean her room, Shelley would wail to her father, who'd turn it into a war. My aunt, worn down by his dominance, became a doormat, and Shelley learned to walk all over her. I loved my aunt like a second mother, and it broke me to see her reduced to a shadow in her own home. Shelley's cruelty to her was relentless. She'd insult her, demand lavish gifts, and refuse to lift a finger, all while her father cheered her on. This dynamic wasn't new. In 2010, when we were 7, Shelley's competitive streak was already vicious. My biological father died before I was born, leaving my mom to raise me alone while battling depression. She worked tirelessly to ensure I lacked for nothing, and my stepdad, who came into our lives later, was a steady father figure. We didn't have much, so when my mom got me a mixed-breed cat that looked like a Siamese, a gift from a friend, not a purchase, it was a big deal. Shelley, furious that I had something she didn't, threw a tantrum. Her parents rushed to buy her a cat, but Shelley neglected it, whining that it wasn't purebred or expensive, like mine. When my aunt tried to teach her responsibility by making her care for it, Shelley's tantrums escalated, and she even hurt the poor animal. They got rid of the cat and bought her a fake poodle toy instead, which she flaunted until it grew old and revealed its mixed breed. Her parents, absurdly, accused my mom of thinking she was better than them for getting me a pet first. It was a petty, adult feud over a child's cat, but it set the tone for years of rivalry. By 2019, when we were 15 and 16, Shelley's selfishness poisoned her social life. She had a knack for making friends but couldn't keep them. Her habit was to agree to hang out, then ditch at the last minute, ghosting with flimsy excuses hours later. One incident burns in my memory. We planned to take her 7-year-old niece out for ice cream in the commercial district. I went to Shelley's house to pick him up, excited to treat the kid to a fun day. But Shelley, as usual, stalled, taking forever to shower, then dawdling over her outfit, hoping we'd give up. Her niece sat on the couch, bored and on the verge of tears, while Shelley snapped at us to leave without her if we were so impatient. My aunt, frail from her cancer diagnosis, begged Shelley to hurry, but Shelley just yelled at her. Fed up, I ditched Shelley and hung out with my best friend instead, savoring a McDonald's sundae while Shelley stayed home, forcing her niece to watch her boring movies. It was a small betrayal, but it showed how Shelley's immaturity hurt everyone, even a child. Shelley's friendships rarely lasted more than a year. She had a, if they don't add up, they're useless, mindset, a gift from her parents, who criticized me for befriending middle-class or poor kids. This was laced with racism. My aunt despised my best friend, whose parents were Bolivian, a group often discriminated against in Argentina. Our European ancestry, more visible than our indigenous roots, was enough for my aunt to feel superior. In 2019, I made the mistake of inviting Shelley into my friend group, hoping to help her loneliness. For a few months, it worked, until a new girl, Luciana, joined. Luciana was a passive-aggressive, pick-me type, and the boys in our group, including my friend Joaquin, were smitten. Shelley, jealous of the attention Luciana got, turned vicious. She trashed Luciana's looks, accused her of being a whore, and tried to ban the boys from hanging out with her. When that failed, she manipulated Joaquin by bringing up her self-harm, hoping to guilt him into loyalty. He ghosted her, and Shelley exploded, creating a group chat to curse out our friends. She even tried to force me to ditch Joaquin, but I refused. Though Joaquin and I later parted ways over his unrequited feelings for me, Shelley's jealousy and control issues ruined her chance at a real friend group. In 2017, when we were 13, my aunt was diagnosed with cancer. If you think Shelley's behavior softened, you're mistaken. She was a monstrous daughter until the end. At 21, she demanded her dying mother iron her clothes and clean her room, screaming if she didn't comply. My aunt passed in March 2024, after a grueling battle. Her cancer had metastasized, and she died of a sudden cardiac arrest the day after a terminal diagnosis. It was a mercy, sparing her months of agony. Shelley barely visited her in the hospital, and the Sorete never showed, even complaining to my mom that my aunt wasn't home to cook and clean. I stayed at my aunt's house during her hospitalization, caring for my grandma, the pets, and the household. When my mom called to say my aunt was dying, the Sorete lied about a broken car to avoid taking me to the hospital, speeding off with Shelley on his motorcycle. I took a $40 Uber to Capitol Federal, arriving 40 minutes late. My mom was livid but held her tongue. The family rallied around the Sorete and Shelley, and I was tasked with caring for Shelley, who'd hurt herself in grief. I did it out of love, but neither she nor her father acknowledged my efforts. The Sorete even claimed we'd done nothing for him. My aunt wanted cremation, but the Sorete delayed picking up her ashes, prioritizing house papers and a pension over her memory. Shelley's parents also targeted our cousin Camila, who got pregnant at 17 and gave birth at 18. They branded her a failure, comparing her to their perfect Shelley. Shelley was cruel, mocking Camila as a single mom and warning me I'd end up like her because of my grades. But Camila defied them, building a beauty salon, marrying a good man, and planning a move to Europe. Her son, Matteo, is an 8-year-old I adore, and we're like aunt and nephew. Shelley, who loathes kids, was mean to Matteo and dismissive of Camila's success. In 2024, Shelley scoffed at my dream of marriage and kids, calling it mediocre and kids a waste of resources. She bragged about never mothering a man, oblivious to how she coddled her deadbeat boyfriend. When she thought she was pregnant, she planned to terminate it. I said I wouldn't support that choice financially or emotionally, though I'd have helped if she kept the baby. She called me a pathetic conservative and a loser, despite living off my generosity. Thankfully, she wasn't pregnant, but the fight exposed her hypocrisy. In 2024, after my aunt's death, the Sorete moved his mistress into my aunt's house, which he didn't own but controlled by hiding the deeds. Shelley, unwelcome at her boyfriend's family home, moved in with me and our grandma. I'd rented a house from a kind woman whose son had passed, cleaning it up and paying low rent. I hoped Shelley would help care for our grandma, who'd raised us both, but she neglected her, once leaving her without lunch. Shelley's boyfriend stayed for weeks, contributing nothing and charging us for gas. When I asked Shelley to get a job or make him pitch in, she'd cry about her loneliness. Her rants about our grandma being a stranger who favored me were nonsense. Our grandma loved her, funded her quinceanera, and bought her an expensive dog, but Shelley was cold and distant. After a fight where I nearly lost control, Shelley and her boyfriend left, unwilling to live in a house he called ugly, or get jobs. They moved back with the Sorete and his mistress. Weeks later, our grandma, 96, was hospitalized and passed. My mom was with her, and a nurse cruelly blamed her for the death, leaving her shattered. As we grieved, Shelley demanded my house keys to retrieve her things. Exhausted, I handed them over, desperate to avoid a scene. I stayed at my mom's that night, an hour and a half away, unable to leave her alone. The next day, I returned to find Shelley and her boyfriend had stolen over $400 worth of items. Clothes, tools, my stepdad's wine, my bike pump, and our grandma's blood pressure monitor. Confronted, Shelley claimed she needed money for food, as she and her jobless boyfriend got no help from her father. My mom, usually soft on Shelley, was done. We told the family, and they cut her off, furious. Shelley's life unraveled. She dropped out of university, turned to substances, and was arrested for driving her late mother's motorcycle the wrong way while high. She's no longer in her mother's house but rents a room from her father, where a tenant caught her in a compromising act with her boyfriend and a friend, door ajar. She's selling her mother's jewelry and our stolen goods to survive, still jobless. Her boyfriend charges her for gas, and she spins a sob story about being disowned for her depression. Shelley could have sued her father for the house deeds. We offered help, but she blew her money on fast food. Hello. Thanks for watching and being part of this journey. If you enjoy story like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means the world. Now let's dive into the story. Her parents always said I'd be the failed cousin, but Shelley's the one who crashed. I feel a flicker of pity, but her choices were hers. I moved again, now living with roommates 4 hours from my hometown, chasing peace and new connections. Shelley's blocked everywhere, and I pray our paths never cross again. My mom and stepdad are helping me buy the house I'm in, a slow but hopeful process. This saga taught me to guard my heart, even from those I once loved like a sister. Life's too precious for betrayal.